Here's a problem that already quite a few of you have told us about, but it is possible that a lot more of you could be affected too. Brand new homes right across Britain have been fitted with a system that its makers describe as the most efficient and cost-effective way to heat a home. Well, if that's the case, why are some of the people who have this system being sent electricity bills that are hundreds of pounds higher than they expected? Which means, in the case of the family that we're about to meet, having to choose between paying for food or keeping warm. Love's Farm, an affordable, eco-friendly housing development in rural Cambridgeshire. At least, that was the idea.
Right, come on then, what pieces can we find?
Samantha Clausen and her family were some of the first to move in May 2010.
We'd been repossessed in our previous home due to the recession, so to be offered this house on this new estate was a dream come true for us.
18.
With another child on the way, there was one particular feature of the house that seemed especially appealing.
We were told we had a great heating system that was going to be economical and it was going to be green, which was perfect. We have a report telling us it was going to be around £500 a year for our heating and our hot water. It couldn't have been better, really.
The energy performance certificate that came with the house couldn't have been clearer about how much they could expect to pay. So there was no need for the family to dread the arrival of their first electricity bill 2 months later. Or so they thought.
When our first electricity bill came through for £252, that was for just under 2 months, we were horrified.
At that rate, in another 2 months, their electricity would have cost them well over what they'd been told they'd be paying for the whole year's supply. Not quite as friendly to the environment or their pocket as they'd been led to believe. So why were their bills so much higher than predicted? Well, Sam's house, like the rest of the estate, was fitted with a heating system made by Swedish company NIBE. Called an exhaust air source heat pump, it replaces the need for a gas boiler, but performs the same function, using electricity instead of gas. It works by taking the heat from the waste air leaving your house and then pumping it back into your home to help provide heating and hot water. Very clever, and all being well, extremely energy efficient. But Sam's certainly wasn't. In fact, she was getting electricity bills almost 4 times higher than expected, and that soon meant that she was building up a huge debt.
We owed in the region of £1,500. Our only choice was to pay half of that or go on a key meter. Once we were put onto a key meter, it became absolutely clear that this system was far from economical and was in fact costing us a fortune to run. Over Christmas, it very quickly became £10 a day, and I was horrified. In fact, when I realised this, I turned our heating off, and the choice was we eat or we keep warm.
Across the estate, other residents whose homes had been fitted with the same heating system were finding that instead of saving them money, it was actually costing them a lot more.
Most estates, people talk about the weather, daily things. On this estate, we all talk about the NIBE boilers.
It's very expensive. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do, to be honest.
I've ended up in tears plenty of occasions on the phone to my electric company when they're saying you've got to pay this, and I'm saying I physically can't.
In the system's user guide, manufacturers NIBE say that it's designed to run 24 hours a day, which is the most efficient and cost-effective way to heat a home. That's why it's become a popular choice with developers, who are now legally obliged to make new build houses more green. But the housing association in charge at Love's Farm, who forked out tens of thousands of pounds assisting residents with their bills, are disappointed that the system has not performed in the way they'd expected.
We understand that our residents are very angry in some cases about the experiences that they've been through because of the NIBE system. And rightly so, frankly. We, as a housing association, are very, very frustrated that our residents have had to experience all of this, and that it has taken far too long to get it resolved with NIBE and with the contractors.
In houses where the bills have been too high, it seems that the system's heat pump simply isn't big enough to heat the home, causing the backup immersion heater to kick in. And though that's only supposed to be used sparingly, in the homes of Sam and her neighbours, it seems to be doing most of the job, using much more electricity and causing very high bills. Over the last 6 years, an estimated 15,000 NIBE systems have been fitted in homes across the country. And we've heard from people up and down the length of the UK who've told us that their eco-friendly heating has also done the opposite of what they'd hoped and pushed their bills up instead of down. Because of that, on this estate in Runcorn, the heating systems were last year ripped out and replaced with standard gas-fired combi boilers, to the relief of residents like Karen Gerard.
I'm so made up that we won't get all these big bills coming in anymore. It was stressing us out. Trying to find money to pay the bills, it's terrible.
But manufacturers NIBE have told us that incorrect usage was a particular problem on that estate, and the heating systems did not need to be removed. They say, though, they're concerned to hear about individual cases where consumers are unhappy. There are many thousands of exhaust air heat pumps in use across the UK, and independent research shows them to be both effective and economic. They insist they don't promote their system on the basis of cost saving, but that big savings can be made when it's installed and used correctly. They're confident that any problems are almost always due to poor specification, installation or maintenance, and not the systems themselves. At Love's Farm, they tell us the reason for the problems have now been clearly identified, with the main issue that some units were undersized for the properties they were supposed to heat, meaning they would never work efficiently in normal use. There were other installation faults too. For example, they say Sam's unit was not set up correctly from the start, and the major installation issues which she had would certainly have contributed to higher costs. But they've stressed it was the contractors who were responsible for all of that, and not them. The developers at Love's Farm accept that some of these systems were fitted incorrectly, and they've offered to contribute towards compensating residents.
Where's the digger?
But since we first looked at this story, there's been a major development on the estate. Sam and 42 other residents have now had their NIBE heating systems removed, a job that the Housing Association says has cost more than £200,000. But as a result, this winter, Sam has not had to make the same tough decisions that she was faced with last year.
Where's the bulldozer?
We have had to make stark choices between heating and other costs. We have other bills that we've had to pay later. We have small children who deserve to be warm and have hot water, and that's not something that I've always been able to provide for them, and that's not right.